Right.
Brilliant. So apologies for absence. Councillor Mike Cole,
Yep.
Lourdes Coppen,
Yep.
Cottam, Simon Pike, Ellen Crumley,
right,
and as we've noted, Christine.
Christine for a bit of lateness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any declaration of interest, members? None offered.
No.
Minutes are here, and you have them in your paperwork. And we went through. We reviewed the result of the Farmers Bay cost be allocated to the Jubilee Beacon lighting. That was an action. Now we got this focus on Thatcham. Are you picking up on that?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Can we talk about the festival?
Lovely. Yes, please. Temporary social media. How are you doing that, or are you picking that up in the main agenda?
Yeah, I could update in terms of the again Thatcham Festival.
Lovely. Okay. And so budget. We'll note the budget. I think I'm asking you to formally propose that these be accepted. So proposed, Chair. Councillor Boyd, thank you very much. All in favour? And John, those are signed on the record on the 1st of September 22.
Correct.
All good? Thank you very much. So that's done. Matters arising. I did go through and probably looked at that. So I'm going to suggest that's done. The budget is these papers, John, is it?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and would you draw our attention to anything where we're under pressure, please?
I will go through Family Fun Day.
Okay.
And explain what's happened in terms of Family Fun Day. The bottom line is that we're £1,268 behind budget. Under budget.
That's the right place to be.
No, sorry, over budget. Sorry, over budget. Sorry, we're over budget. Other way.
Tell us why, because you'd have to explain it to Mike Cole.
Okay, there's several reasons for that. The main one is sponsorship. We put in terms of, you can see in terms of the.
What page are we on?
So if you look at the budget sheets on page 7, yes, thank you, Mark.
All right, turning to page 7.
If you look at the sponsorship income line 1052.
600 against 1200.
Yeah, so, well, no.
1200 against 600.
Yeah, correct. Well,
right.
The actual budget was 618 was the project. So the projection was 618, and we failed really to get any sponsorship.
So that was last year. So this year we said 618 and didn't get any. So that's our, yeah.
Correct. And also if you look at we
got 180.
Yeah, and if you look also at the storeholder fees.
Hello.
Yeah. Kind of
we're on 950 down there.
So that's of being over budget by Christine.
And can we just remind ourselves how much over budget we are on the second page?
We are £1,268.
Where do you see that figure, please, John?
I chatted to Mel and we went through it, and it's so 16k almost is the total. Second, and then 17. No, it's not salaries.
Right.
So the total expenditure is 21,169 against the actual 18,863. There is some additional income coming in, but that's what takes us to the 1,268 figure,
which should frankly be on this piece of paper. We should be able to see the 1268.
Yeah,
and that's rather poor on our system, not on your reporting. But if I use my calculator, 21,169 minus 18,863, I get £2,306.
Okay.
You're saying there's another 900 quid coming in, make that 1,200. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that a transfer from EMR to possible?
No,
No,
that's
that's something
internal transfer from.
different, which I can explain. So I just quickly try and explain that. So the minus 1030 is a hangover from the E-Day, and that's the plus transfer from EMR is the funds from Jubilee that we were given in terms of reserves. So so we've given some back, and the outcome is the balance. The transfer from EMR is 8,937.
So just remind 1238, I think you said, didn't you? The overspend.
So Mel has calculated it's 1,268.
60. Right, well, that's for the minutes, John. There was an overspend 1268 created by sponsorship down, stall holders down from what we expected. So those are the two reasons.
Okay, and I think I'll also note to Mel that we probably need, it'd be helpful to have that shown in the accounts, so I don't have to.
Well, it'd be helpful to show the net position, yes, because actually what this says is we're down £5,651 and you're reporting 1,268.
Yeah.
So it's pretty difficult to sit here and say, oh, well, 1268 is not too bad when the papers are showing me 5651. But that is to do with how these reports can be manipulated. So, John, I should be looking at members' questions. I just finished my train of thought. In any sponsorship expectation, there's risk.
Mm-hmm.
And when we come on to festival later, fill us in about the risk there, please.
Yeah, you mean Family Fun Day?
Fun Day.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is Fun Day. I'm talking about when you talk about festival and the money allocated to that and sponsorship expected. Give us an update of how confident we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any questions, members? I'm chatting away to myself here. Bottom line, 1238 overspent.
Yeah.
And the lessons to be learned, John?
I'm going to go, there's a report on Family Fun Day, and I think I'd like to sort of go into in detail then, because it talks a lot about what's happened in Fun Day and our thoughts for next year.
Okay, do that.
Okay.
Later. It's on the agenda next.
Yeah, it is.
Anything else on budget that we need to be aware of before Mike Cole comes and tells me something I want to know? One on the Broadway was nothing. You had some entertainment here, fun on the Broadway, page 9. That's not going ahead. What's happened there?
Okay, so this was, Mel had actually said that we budgeted in those figures for fun on the Broadway, even though we're not doing that. So one of the bonuses of not doing fun on the Broadway is that budget, that 917, is available to us.
Good.
So it makes, for example, Family Fun Day not so
correct
bad in terms of those figures. But I think Mel's position is we don't want to be complacent on that, because we've still got the whole.
But you can't assume that is available in your budget, because you're sort of trying to use it to break even.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. Just making the point.
Agreed.
Otherwise, you say, well, I've got £917 there and I've just put it into the festival. But then you're still £1,238 down. And believe me, this is a tough budget year, and next year it won't be easier. As you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to potential sources of sponsorship, doesn't it?
It does, but I think the steer here is the 917 saved on Fun Day was a welcome relief of the overspend on Fun Day. On the fun on the Broadway, 917 was a welcome relief on the overspend on Fun Day.
Correct.
If you minute something like that, it's clear that, you know, we're using it as a bit of a balancing amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we've got special events. Aren't any? And we do have year-to-date expenditure on special events. Page 10.
Yeah.
And what are they?
So special events are all Jubilee. So that's all the position in terms of where we're at with that. And pretty much include the fireworks events, which the expenditure there.
Yeah. Good. So that again is a little bit under. If you look at the year to date versus the budget agreed, that's 300 quid, 260 quid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just about break even on the night, John.
I hope so.
Okay, any other questions on the budget? Because you'll come back to festival in the main body of your meeting, yeah?
Yeah. We'll chat that through, but I'm happy to talk through the budgets at that stage.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Happy members?
Yes, indeed.
We note that report and we come on to Sunday straight away. And again, that's the report on it, isn't it?
Correct.
So let's have a look. This one, members. You want to walk us through it without reading it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So to sort of summarize, Family Fun Day this year was a big success when you judge it in terms of attendances and feedback. And we have that from people that have come back to us, both storeholders and visitors to the event. That interestingly begs another issue, and that's all to do with the events growing in quality and in attendance. But it does mean that we need to manage those numbers. There has been a quick kind of debrief meeting that we had both with officers, and we invited the chair and the vice chair to that meeting. And there was some good things that came out of that, which I'd kind of like to, we've elaborated on, done some more research on that, and I'd like to elaborate. So the key things in terms of the issues that causes in terms of this as a successful event is that there are things that this now creates in terms of infrastructure. So we only in 2019 started putting in temporary toilets. Prior to that, they were always provided for in the pavilion. Mm-hmm. Now, it's abundantly clear from the feedback, from the little bit of negative and feedback that we got, that our toilets need to be improved, both in quantity and quality. Car parking is another issue. Car parking, we are absolutely at our capacity up at Hennick. We've put in place other measures, both those that are environmentally friendly in terms of encouraging people to cycle and come by alternative means. There's still, no matter how big we go with that in terms of information, there's still pressure on car parking. And we pushed this year people to park in the hospital, which was free that year, but there's going to be costs next year, we've been told. We believe there's solutions, but I'm just going to point out where we're at with these things. So car parking is an issue. The size of the site, it's increasing. We're using more of Hennick. The customers love it, but it takes longer to get round. Both from a management point of view, staffing, we need to manage the site better with our resources that we have, and also communication. So we believe, an internal on-site public address system. So if there are issues, and there were few, we manage them. but we can't be always dependent on that. And that's to do with things like first aid, lost children, etc. We also had a stage, but this year for the first time, and that went down brilliantly. But the stage was presented by default in terms of Jubilee. So there are, we believe, additional considerations to take into account. Another aspect, our costs are starting to increase. We really worked hard this year with our existing suppliers and used a lot of goodwill to keep the prices the same as last year. But we've been told that won't be the case. You know, there's no sitting around this table, I'm sure we're all aware of increasing costs that are coming due to inflation, etc., transport costs, and some of our attractions, some of them come from West Berkshire, some come a bit further. So all of that, what does that mean? I believe that what that means is we need to also consider how we can generate more income within the event. And I'm presenting members with a number of options. And for that consideration, I think it will be, we've seen with the budgets, it's hard for us to get sponsorship. It's not an easy market to get sponsorship. Interestingly, something to consider, what seems to be easier is companies don't find it so difficult to give us £100, £200 for things like advertising. We found with, for example, Thatcham Festival, which we'll come on to later, that again, we haven't got sponsorship for it, but we found in the brochure, we're managing to get more advertising revenue. So that's something I think to consider as something that is difficult for us to get income from. However, we believe that there's a number of potential ways that we could generate income, and I'll just map the four of them out, and I'm sure we can discuss in more detail. One is our store holders and increasing the charge in terms of store holders. And I put a little table together in terms of what the current charges are and our recommended increase. And perhaps we can come back to that. But we believe in terms of the recommended increases are pretty limited. You know, they're in the figure of around about 10 to 20% maximum. They haven't been increased since 2018. And there's a number of different types of store holders. They're not all charity and community. There's also hot food, hot drink, commercial entities as well. And that's within this table. The second to consider is charging a ticket income for people coming onto site. And again, we can go through that in a little bit more detail, but I'll just summarize. And the third is looking at areas that are paying income, such as a fun fair that's here on the Sunday and gives us perhaps the largest chunk of commercial income. It's £860 plus VAT, and consideration of whether we can bring them in a day early. I'll come back to that as well, because I've already been in touch with the fun fair and their position on that. But there's other things that we could bring in that could generate income. I was, for example, at an event, a fun fair style event in Portsmouth, and there was a children's kind of attraction, which was really exciting and generating a lot of income, and people happy to pay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 2. Yeah, they're I said 4, but I think they're the main 3 elements.
Along with sponsorship, I guess.
Yes, yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah. So really, just really for members, I think to
come back to the finances of this year and a bit later. I'll make some general observations, and then members, I'm sure, will jump in. Sponsorship probably won't get any easier. So whatever we said for sponsorship, we might find a stretch even to get what we achieved this year. Selling them some advertising in a brochure is something they feel they get some value from. And have we thought of selling banners to festoon around on the day? So they're not there, but they've got some presence on a pop-up banner or you know, somewhere in a sort of area or dotted around. Again, they're getting a bit of value for the 100 or 200 quid. And I think this is small amounts of money that could add up over half a dozen. You didn't mention, or you might be in the report, there was grumbles about the long queues at food stalls, which suggests we could sell more food stalls.
Agreed. An aside, part of that issue was that two of the food stores that said that they would turn up didn't show. Interestingly, they were the two food stores that hadn't paid their invoices.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's about, look, this is one of our prime events. Let's go out early. And you can see that in that table, one of the thoughts that I have is having an early bird discount. So get them in, get them confirmed, get their money, and give a bit of an incentive. And also, perhaps we haven't done that before, but quite a few organisations I've seen do that.
And if they haven't paid 3 weeks out, have you got a little register of others that you could say, I've got a slot come available as surprises suddenly?
I think if we start attacking it earlier and going after them earlier, which this is the implication from terms of what's happening, is I think we need to do this, then we should be in a position that hopefully that we've got some reserves. The Fun Day is a successful event. We've got that now. We've got good photo footage. I think you've seen in the last debrief meeting, the storeholder quotes. We can start putting them on our material and our collateral and going out to storeholders, and just making it a little bit more, not just being complacent and thinking they're always going to come. So just making sure they know it's a successful event. It is, when I compare the numbers with some of the other numbers of people. So, for example, the bounce kiddie thing that I saw in Portsmouth, I just emailed the lady today. She's come back, seen our family fun day. She's in terms of the numbers.
But that only gets you, what does that get you? 50 quid?
Well,
what did the bouncy castles get you this year?
The bouncy castles were recommended increase. They were £250.
So they're not on here.
No. This is sorry. So the categories, they're not up. All this is it doesn't tell you the numbers. It just tells you what the charges are.
Yes.
This year, the current charge that they're paying, and the recommended increase.
If I was the bouncy castle and my commercial 10 metre frontage and I had to buy 100 metre, it got me to 250 quid.
They had somewhere in the region current charge. I think they had 4 times 10. So it's 100 pounds.
4 times 25, £100.
Yeah, £100.
Just said 250.
There was.
You might want to check that.
Yeah, I think there was another. In addition to the inflatables, there were some other commercial attractions. So that the total was £250, but I think they were just 100.
Okay, so I'm happy to take comments anytime you put your hand up, but we've got some thorny little issues here. The food stalls, I think you can be, tighter on and not have the dropouts. 2 more this year would have helped. I think you could have got maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. I think I'm right in saying you've got a sponsorship rate almost, haven't you? So if I said I might be interested in sponsoring, you could send me, bronze, silver, gold, platinum sponsorship package.
Gold and silver, we do a gold and
silver. And I can look at that and I know what I'm getting for my money.
Correct.
But they're not selling.
Correct.
So do we need to adjust those? Go again with all the marketing collateral you've been telling us, 10,000 footfall, these are what the stallholders say. Look at all this. You're going to get this exposure, Mr. Newbury Building Society. And this package is 500 quid, you know.
I think so. We've debated it internally that it's harder work. And this will be harder work, all of everything we're doing in terms of getting advertising as well. But that's what's happening. It's harder work because obviously if you get one sponsor, a gold sponsor, then a lot of money and you just look after them.
How much is gold?
Gold, I'm guesstimating, but I think it was for Family Fun Day was 1,200 and silver was about 750, 800, something like that. We didn't get either.
I'm proposing that you bring to another events committee some different ideas on sponsorship. Yeah, Mark, you want to come in?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think around that one really. There's got to be something specific in it for the sponsor. I mean, we've had one or two quite large ones in past years, and they've had a pretty strong motive at that particular time for wanting to raise their profile in the area.
Yeah,
and that I guess is what you're looking for all the time. The next one that's coming along and is going to want to get its name out in Thatcham. They don't come along too often, I know. But I mean, can we? I mean, within your packages, do the sponsors have the opportunity to maybe have a giveaway which is sort of handed to each adult as they come through the gate, or something that they can actually demo within a stand on the field?
Yeah. We part of that package is that they get a free stall space and they get the premium stall space. We have debated internally about the idea of doing more bespoke, smaller packages. It's hard work, and there's no guarantee. The smaller amounts, we can be much more efficient, accurate on things like advertising revenue, because it's an easier ask. Down to the fact that we could call up someone almost at the last day, for example, with the Thatcham Festival brochure, and say, there's a quarter page, Gary Cax, are you interested in taking it? Yeah, I'll take that. So I can't do that with sponsorship, It's got to be way in advance for the amounts we're doing. I think it's a good point to sort of like maybe think more about, for example, a stage sponsor, and you get this and the amount is £400. Yeah. So
say the stage, you can drape the stage, you can be adjacent to the stage. I say Newbury Building, so it doesn't matter. Double glazing, the AA, it doesn't matter. There's your banner around the stage. Oh, Newbury Building, oh, there they are. Oh, he wants to talk. And you get that sense of exhibition. Now, bear in mind, your benchmark for next year on sponsorship is only 600 quid, because that's all you got this year. And anything up on 600 is progress. Now,
I'd be very loath to push that up. I would say that's a satisfactory level.
I think you should challenge yourself. You put 600 in the budget and say to yourself, I'm going to double it by some other effort. And I'm going to have 6 packages of 200 rather than one package of 1,200. So you get Gary Cax suddenly saying, well, I think actually I might come along for 100 quid and I'll take a stall. Now, you get commercial stalls anyway, I get that. But it's a smaller buying decision.
I'd be happy to challenge myself. I'd be less happy at them pushing up that figure to 1,000.
Mike Cole won't let you.
Good.
I'm sorry.
I think in terms of,
he won't let us balance the budget on unrealistic sponsorship.
Good. But I absolutely feel we should be looking at increasing the stall holder charges.
Yeah. Oh, well, that gives you that table. You said it gave us £575 if we adopted these prices.
Just within the existing. If we looked at Family Fun Day this year in terms of the stall holders,
number of stalls,
and the attractions, so that doesn't take into account an extra 3 caterers, doesn't take into account an extra couple. So I think
that's the ratchet effect of these pricing.
Agreed, but we can increase them more if
No,
around this table?
personally, I mean, commercial 10-metre frontage going from 25 to 50 is not 10 or 20%. Okay, so I think you're doing a rounding exercise, and actually, you know that's plenty from this desk, but members may have a different view. But I'd be happy to propose that we accept those because of the success of the fun day, the numbers of people coming through. Before you tell me it might rain next year, don't say that. Let's assume it's good weather and 10,000 come through, and the caterers this year say, I'm going to that again because that was good last year. Oh, they want a bit extra money. No, that's all right, I can make that work. Yeah. You've got the goodwill, you've got the success to build on. Is that sensible, members?
Yeah.
So we're going to agree that here. I'm going to propose that table of increases be adopted for 23.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay. So that's your first. That's your first.
It makes sense to reduce it almost down to the level of this year for the early bird. So that makes that more attractive.
Yeah, a little bit of enthusiasm to commit. We are challenging you. This is a new point to bring back some sponsorship ideas.
Yep.
Which are perhaps, you know, silver is actually, bronze is 200 and silver is 350 and gold next year is 600 rather than 1200, which they run a mile. Or you look at your package of offer and say, I can improve the offer. I don't know. No. Then you talked about something in Portsmouth, all the kids want to go on it and we're happy to pay. And she wanted to come to us. Does that factor in another 500 quid? I don't know.
I haven't worked out the finances in terms of the scale of, I mean, her frontage might get, yes, but it does in effect. I think her frontage is about 20 metres by 20 metres, but I need to, you know, which is,
but she just,
that's 100 quid.
Okay, you don't get any of her income. You let her the stall. Okay. And then before I come back to what I think will be a more tricky conversation, admission charge and limited bar, what might the fare bring in on a Saturday night?
Okay, so the issues with that is I've kind of had a look at that and thought, wow, if they could come in on Saturday and pay us 860, that's 860. But I've spoken to the operator. They're a really reluctant. They will struggle to come in on Saturday because they're at Cadbury World.
Is this the one that's there on the Sunday?
Yes. And the issues with the Showman's Guild is that you need to offer them, you know, the pitch on the Sunday. I can't kind of then bring, I think a different funfair operator coming in on Saturday and then disappearing.
That doesn't work.
Wouldn't work.
But the Showman's Guild, if you went to them and said, I want to let 2 days and this organisation can't do it, I need to look around. I think the Showman's Guild would see the commercial imperative of that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, he's a good operator. And he is a good operator.
Yeah, he's a good operator for 1 day.
Yeah.
And he prefers Cadbury World to Thatcham. Mind you, I think I would.
Me too.
I mean, I haven't pushed him. This is just a quick email and response back and say, and he didn't say no. He said, I'd struggle. So that's not a no.
No, but he can go to his mates and he can.
I think that would be what I'd be keen to see is that
he goes to his mate. He sends his mate along. He top skims it. This isn't going out. This is going out live.
It is.
And he makes the commercials work.
I can pause the record.
Okay. Because if it were 860, say, right, you don't have a lot of extra cost for them to be there Saturday night.
No.
Are you pushing your luck by saying Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Because then he says, well, actually, that's better than Cadbury World because I get 3 gigs when normally I get 2. I'm just making it up as I go along.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about Friday as being possible.
Well, the setup is the same.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, you only have to look at Newbury over the summer. They had a fun fair in Victoria Park for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
good income to the town council. I'm sure.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have been there had they not known that they were going to get the football. So I think 3 days at Hennick wouldn't be.
The other big consideration is Hennick, and the actual committee, whatever the joint
AMC,
yeah. So that it would need their approval. They also have cricket matches on Saturday, but it's massive, Hennick, isn't it?
Hennick is massive.
You've seen where the fun fair went, and
I'll have a word with the JMC chairman, all right, which is me.
Okay.
Which isn't a yes, but I'd want some serious obstacles not to be able to put a fun fair on there 3 nights, 3 days. It is a massive field, I walked it recently, and even at the top where it goes up into the next plateau, it's massive over there as well. The neighbours would complain if you had a fun fair up near them. But honestly, I don't think you're space restricted.
Okay.
They'd be a little bit concerned about churning up the grass, but if you feel you might be able to get an operator 3 nights, I can bring it to Hennick JMC.
Okay. Let me put it to him with a bit more strong offer and then come back.
Okay. But then you come on to the limited bar. Bearing in mind it's a daytime event, I'm a bit concerned about them coming for the wrong reasons. Christine?
I agree.
They wander in, I'll prop the bar up all afternoon on this sunny afternoon with me mates. I'm not interested in any of the events or the classic cars.
Can I just say, why don't we, there was a lot of people who were coming in. I'm really surprised that it was free and they didn't have to pay.
Yeah, coming on to that, Christine. Coming on to that, Christine.
On the list.
I've got a particular opinion on that. John knows I'm going to air it shortly. Let's stay with the bar. Mark, the bar.
I think, real ale festivals are great, and you go and you're getting music and ale. I think it may well change the
dynamic.
The dynamic of it if what is essentially a family event and is primarily parents and young children and social mothers.
We've got a couple anxious, John.
I was thinking of having an ale area, where you invite local breweries along. We do have a few.
Yes, but you change some of the dynamic of it, don't you?
Yeah.
From a family fun day to a beer fest.
Yeah.
That's what would worry me, John, I think.
Yeah. No, that's
Although a beer fest is a great idea. We did have one in Thatcham about 15 years ago, didn't we? I remember it up at the station.
You can give John ideas for other events if you want to. John, I'd have to say I think we'd get some flack if we said, we're going to have a beer area, as you say, and people are going to come in with their pop and they're going to say, oh, that's a nice real ale. Okay, I'll have that one. And then they're staggering and,
Can I come back? My suggestion is a discrete drinking area, which is, and the type of alcohol is almost like a Pimm's, that kind of thing. So it's a specific, but I would agree that once things like that start happening, whoever you give the license to do that, they know where they're going to make their money. So they put you under pressure to sell the drinks that make them money. And I would say it also becomes, once you start a president, is that the right word? President, then it becomes, okay, next year, it might not be yourself, someone else think, oh, that's income. Come on. And so I've just thrown it out there.
chap across there, Mr. Nathan Gregory, said to me he was going to have beer at that Jubilee event. He had to then pay for enhanced security in case anybody was wandering around being unpleasant. So yes, it was an income stream, but he was then having to mitigate potentially some of the behaviour.
I would agree with you. It changes the perception of the event. Even if it's a tiny thing. And there is a bar at the hockey club, and and they do beer and stuff. It's a long way.
Starts as a little thing, and then, as you say, it can grow. So, John, for my money, I'd rather look at other things. Now, if you come on to the admission, and I'm going to tell you a little story because I can, because I'm the chairman. Some of you will remember, and I've told John this before, that I ran the Thatcham show. It was a family fun day from 1982 to 1998.
I was there.
We charged £1 entrance fee to the Lower Sports Field. Right?
Certainly not. No.
We charged £1. We did to children as well, but I'll come back to that. It was on the Lower Sports Field. You had three entrances that you manned. I've told you before, we went to the Thatcham Cricket Club and said, can you give us some manpower to sit on the gates, take the money, help in other ways, and you get 20% of the gate takings. And they still talk about it now being very lucrative to them.
Yeah.
I can't see why a £1 charge for adults, bearing in mind the logistics of manning the field, manning the entrances, when they're going to come in and maybe spend £10, £15 for the family events on the stalls, that could give us a very significant income of several £1,000, £6,000 or £7,000. Now, if you did that, I would press you to do more in the way of entertainment. Like you go to the showman show and you get yourself a juggler and you get yourself a trapeze artist, or you get, this, you've been there before, I've been there, and you suddenly have an arena, and it's big enough for an arena, and in the arena, just now on the public announcement, tannoy, because you're going to add that in, the tannoy system right across the field, we're about to start the trapeze artist in, and we're looking up, and there it is, and they've got a sense of occasion and entertainment, as well as all the good stuff you're doing now. So yes, I'm charging you, but it's pretty nominal. And by the way, look at all this extra entertainment I put on this year. Now that takes it into a different scale again, John. How ambitious you feel?
I used to run the Glasgow show, so up in Glasgow, some.
Is it not new to you, John?
Kind of. I'm in Thatcham and I'm working with Thatcham, so I'm just need to, all I've kind of looked at is the fact that there do not seem to be. I haven't researched every council family fun day, but every single one out of the 10 or dozen or more that I looked at, none. There was a charge. None of them were charging. The charges were for more commercial-based fun days where there was a Hilliers Garden Centre summer day, that kind of thing. That's not a reason why we shouldn't do it, because times are changing, as Bob Dylan's kind of said.
Well, let me summarise this, because we've been going at it a while. Would you continue to map and model how an admission would work? Mm-hmm. What it might bring in, and what the scope is then to be more ambitious in the delivery of events, entertainment, reasons for going.
Yep.
We will need to go to members outside of this meeting. There's only 4 of us here out of 18 to make sure that we would carry them with us. Yeah, because you might get a few very opposed. Right. So we can't, I don't think we're agreeing that this evening. But we are agreeing for you to look further. Sure. I think we're agreeing this evening not to consider even a limited bar offer. And by the way, Thatcham people, it's not Wimbledon here when you talk about pins. Okay? This is Thatcham. I'm being mischievous.
Point taken.
And you're going to continue to look in the fun, at the potential fun fair. Extra food stalls. We've agreed the new table of charges, and you come back perhaps next events. And in the meantime, we will have sounded out members about a nominal charge. So let your creative juices flow a bit, John. Just because it's only Thatcham and it's not Glasgow, where I'm bloody sure you had a beer tent.
No. It was a lot more. I tell you, I've never seen something where all of a sudden, so there was Shetland pony racing, and I looked behind me and all the park officers, there was a betting. They were doing bets on the Shetland pony crowd. The kids doing, and it just came from nowhere. And
we had dray horses.
Pardon?
At the Thatcham show, the dray horses would come and march around. And the chap owned a couple of dray horses. Oh, look at them, And I think I got that free. But I think we could be perhaps more ambitious given the great grounding, the foundation you built there. Okay, is that fair, numbers?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Well, I've got a couple of other little ideas, but I'll take those offline with you.
Yeah, I was just going to add that when you say one of the criticisms was the long lines at the food stores, you would think that would be a selling point to the food stalls, the ones that you want to get in and say, look, every year we have this, and there's more customers there than we have food stores for.
Yeah.
And that might be enough to encourage them in to say, well,
we've got photos to prove that as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
On that point, have you been out to the ones that attended this year to see if they want to have an early bird rate for next year?
Not yet. We've asked them to save the date, but we haven't got because I think what we'd like to do is say, this is, we need an agreement really. And if we're getting that agreement today, then it's, the next thing would be going out and saying, right, early bird discount, this is what's happening, this is the fee, and just making a bit more commercial, nice photos, blah, 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 and, going wider afield.
And the fish and chip man, tell him, don't let people queue for 20 minutes and then tell them you've run out of chips.
I remember that. I remember you telling me that. I mean, that's a travesty, but
isn't it?
Okay.
To be fair, he'd have been cross as well because he could have sold a lot more chips.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help you?
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's move on to the United Service of Remembrance, please, which is another small report. Really.
Yeah. This is really just for members to note, really. It was a successful event. It was a very hot day. You brought in. Thankfully, members approved previously a slightly bigger budget for United Service for Remembrance, which enabled us to bring in some big scale gazebos, which allows shelter for attendees, good attendance, all things considered, 90 people. So 75 people invited, 90 attending. The event went smoothly. Nothing else really from our side to add.
Can we look at the numbers, the finances? Can we go back to our budget paper, which is page 6? And what it says, if I read it right, we agreed £2,287 and we spent £2,287. It's a bit too close to feel it's correct.
There aren't many costs, and I think
your marquees will cost you.
Sorry, I mean there aren't many items. So I'm pretty sure for that event, when the budget was put together, it wasn't the case for other events, but for that one, I'm pretty sure that we got a quote in advance.
Okay.
So we knew what the cost would be.
Advance the budget, actually.
As we were setting the budget.
So you spent 800 on your equipment hire. 400 on casual labour agency staff. What did they do? They put the tents up or something?
That'd be putting all the chairs out and then collecting them up.
Yeah, that was Fizz hire. So that was
Fizz hire.
Yeah,
right. So 1,200 effectively on, and then a salary allocation, John. Yeah,
correct.
So that worked a treat, and I thought it was better than the previous year when we only had a small pop-up gazebo. those big tents, you were there to treat, weren't they?
Yeah, it went very well.
It elevated it up again, those big marquees.
And
Really did.
And I know I was one of the people who was very reluctant not to see it happen.
Yeah.
But the comments from the people there, you know, made my decision to hopefully put it on again, you know, very worthwhile. Everybody was so appreciative of the council doing these events, and because it is a very you know, emotive subject, yeah, and when people were there, they were very, very grateful for the council to put on.
You were right, John, as was Owen Jeffrey, who fought very hard for it in another meeting. And it was me who said, oh, well, perhaps we'll lose it this year. And I was wrong. And I don't think it's one under the spotlight. Okay. I think it's a civic responsibility we've always got now to invest that money. There's no return on the 1,200 quid. It's a cost of the council putting on an important event.
Okay.
Then you've got, if I may move on, you're bringing us a planning update.
Yes, the first one is Thatcham Festival. And I was hoping to be able to give you all a copy of our wonderfully expanded brochure this evening, but they haven't arrived. They'll arrive tomorrow. What I can give you before you leave is one of our flyers with all the events at a glance. The content that we've got, I think, is outstanding this year. We have 46 events confirmed. Just to put it into perspective, last year there were 38 events, and they're all quality events. I mean, it's not a record event. If I look back in 2017, there were more events, but then members decided not to allow aerobics events that was just an aerobics class happening. It had to be something bespoke for the festival. So really pleased with it. So just to sort of like some of that, we've got a very, very diverse offer from family events such as Apple Day is back. We haven't had Apple Day for a few days. The big Thatcham Fest-off, we're doing that the second year. The Mem Hall are doing their car show. Just in case members aren't aware, they have had some issues with their promoter, which might not be a surprise.
Which one?
The Mem Hall, Memorial Hall, are doing a car show.
Yeah.
Last year was called Fun on the Field.
Okay.
Presented with Momo. There's some issues there apparently with Momo, which shouldn't necessarily be a surprise.
Yeah, if I can say, when we put them in charge of the other event in Thatcham, and it wasn't advertised very well, they were telling the staff, we've leafleted everybody. Well, I live on the high street.
I remember you
leafleted.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
And the turnout was quite poor as a result. So I definitely think.
Yeah,
as you say, it doesn't come as a surprise.
But the positives are a great range of events, walks and talks. Cats are doing a ghost walk again.
On the Friday evening.
In terms of some of the talks, we've got some outstanding speakers. Robert Harris, who
that's cool.
Really pleased with that. We did. So I think I'd said so basically I did a kind of a mooch round to people to get feedback in terms of authors. And I think I'd said at the time that because I haven't got Robert Harris, I'm going to have to bring in some other people. But they finally came back at the 11th hour, which is why he's not on this bit of flyer, but he's on all our subsequent publicity. And he'll be at Thatcham Football Club in their biggest room. I went to see him last night.
What day?
On Thursday, the 20th of October.
Very good. Well done.
So really pleased with that. Holly Webber's coming back, massive children's author. Hungerford, 250 people last night. I think we've already had people, because that was a sellout from Hungerford, calling up saying, we gather you're on in Thatcham. So I think we're going to do quite well there. So that's some of the highlights. We've also got big Thatcham Festival. And I'll mention the band that we've got on stage, not just because he's the son of David Lister, but Beyond the Sons, who are a bunch of under 16 band, have got a phenomenal following. Their Facebook page is 3,000, and that's not their main
local.
Two of them are from Thatcham.
No, I mean the 3,000. Are they?
I haven't looked at where they're all from, but that's their Facebook following. So really, really pleased with that. They've also, the music press seem to be going kind of quite nuts about them, and I've listened to them, and I think they'll be a good addition.
Yeah, I listened to them as well. They're good.
Okay,
so
I picked one up the other day, but do pass those round, or make sure members get them.
Can you give one to? Sorry, can you give one to Chris?
Where are you on sponsorship? You've got £1,000 in your budget.
Right, John,
That's 3 minutes.
Did you manage to frisbee that down?
Yeah.
So sponsorship has not been successful. So we've had to go out without sponsorship. However, we haven't done a precise update in terms of income, but we are starting to, in terms of income projection, but within the festival program, we're starting to charge for certain events. So for example, and had to be quite careful because there's different restrictions. So for example, I'll give you just one example. Robert Harris, there's a charge of £6. The publisher will get the bulk of that, but we will get some of that. Due to the goodwill of Thatcham Town Football Club, it's no charge to us for the venue.
Okay, so you're £1,000 down.
Yep.
Your ticket income was 1,500. Are you going to get 2,500 on ticket income to make up your £1,000 deficit?
I need to do a recalculation of that, but my instinct is that I'm quite confident in terms of the events that we've got, the additional income we'll be getting from those events, and some of the advertising opportunities.
Advertising got 300 here. Are you beating that?
We've already got more than that from the advertisers for the brochure, and then they will.
Any idea off the top of your head?
No, I don't want to.
Your challenge is £1,000.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pressing the point, John.
Yep.
We have to balance this budget.
Yep.
Or I'm already getting a lot of heat. Not that they want to cut it down, they just want to stay within what we said we would do. But the programme sounds terrific. Well done.
Yeah. So yeah,
it looks excellent, the programme.
But you're absolutely right. I'm very mindful of the cost versus income, and that we need to remain in budget. And I'd be
again, you see, the sponsor offering has not worked, and when we budget for next year, we'll have to be quite circumspect about what we say about sponsorship. And if you put it low and you beat it, it's better than putting it high and failing.
Yeah, I would. If you were to sort of sit down now and challenge me and say, John, next year, how would you play it? You know, without having done a complete financial kind of report, my instinct would say, sponsorship, I'm worried about, but I think I can get you more on advertising income and more on ticket income.
So, but the other aspect of that is businesses are going to really feel it in the next 6-9 months. And one of the things that goes is marketing, advertising, sponsorship, discretionary spend, and then staff, but we are facing quite something in our economy.
And I get the feeling, without having kind of said to New Building Society or others, what's happening within your marketing budgets, but I get the feeling the sponsorship's the first thing to go. And they find it easier on the advertising.
Yeah. Still got budget that. I get that. Because they see a direct relationship between marketing and sales. They don't see it between sponsorship and sales.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well done, John. Okay, happy with that, members?
Oh, sorry. Focus on Thatcham. Can I just come back to members on that, because you wanted to know about that. Just to say that event goes alive on September the 11th in terms of the West Berkshire Museum.
Yes.
There's a big focus on Thatcham. We've put it in the brochure. We've pushed it as something that's...
Well, it's 11th of September. That's well ahead of the festival.
Yes, but we've just pushed it in that it's not as a kind of chronological event, but something to be mindful of because it goes on for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
So September 11th to September 11th next year.
Can you get me an invite as mayor, please?
Well, what we'd like to do a launch event. And the West Berkshire Museum are being very amenable in terms of that.
I should hope so.
Not paying extra staff costs if we want to have a private view.
Yeah.
So I'd be very keen to do that, use it as an opportunity, talking about sponsorship, maybe, because there's no cost to us to invite.
Private view, you've got to invite the great and the good. Private view, how many go to a private view? 20?
We're limited on capacity, so we'd need to think quite carefully. But I'd be keen to work with members to come up with who should we invite and our rationale for it.
And you need to do it fairly early on in that year before it becomes less newsworthy.
Correct, yeah. But they're not going to do a launch. You know, they sometimes do launches and they decided not to. I don't know whether that's...
No, but John, it will be in the New Weekly News. There'll be some...
No, of course. No, I didn't mean... I meant that as an opportunity for us to get involved. Yeah. We'll have the collateral. We'll be able to talk about, other things.
So between the period of September the 11th and the end of the festival, see if we can...
Yeah, I'd be interested to know another thing around this table when members think if it opens September the 11th, our festival starts October the 14th, and we could do it a couple of weeks early, 3 weeks early, the beginning of October. I'd be interested. I'm not sure.
Split that difference, yeah.
I'm not sure, but your point, you want to do it once it's fresh and there's not too much.
Well, no, well, it's within the first 8 weeks maximum.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's now business as usual. And I'm back on holiday on October the 4th. So could we do it between the 4th and the 14th?
Yeah.
When the festival opens, and you then keyed it almost into the festival camp itself.
Yeah, love to do it around then. Okay. Yeah.
Let Hannah know that we're going to do a launch at that time so that she doesn't cover it before the launch date.
Yes. And we get it on the Thatcham page, and then that.
Yeah, I think we do a teaser before then, and then do the main thing, press release on that particular kind of night. And okay, brilliant.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Then you got Remembrance Sunday.
Just there's the only thing to say to that is that the planning of that is going well, and there is a date.
Yeah, is there we have a meeting because
planning meeting set up coming quite soon.
Remind me.
Sensory Garden opening.
13th of September.
Thank you.
Sorry, what time and thing?
Same day as the Sensory Garden.
I've got
7, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Hold on. I've got a group meeting there. Oh, that's West Berkshire. I can probably dump that. I thought it was our town council group meeting. So that one is what time you got there?
The 22nd.
Sorry?
Remembrance is at 7.
Our group is the 22nd.
Thank you. So it's 7 o'clock and it's remembrance planning, isn't it?
Yeah. Now you're out of courtesy, the chairman of the events committee and the vice chairman are always invited.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to attend.
I've got it in there and I'll make a decision, but it doesn't hurt to get an orientation of their foot plans. Not that they change a lot year on year, but it starts to, and also I met the people who are involved.
Yeah, I mean,
you know them, I didn't know them as well as you.
And there's always a good turnout of the great and the good, so to speak. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Now you've got a PowerPoint.
No. So it's not a PowerPoint here. It's an events PowerPoint in Broadway Green. And I just talk, there is a note here. I'll talk you through.
Okay.
So it's an update really for members' information, and I just wanted to bring it to members' attention. Sorry, Mark, can I share that with you?
Yeah.
Great. So, so members agreed in February 2022, this year, an upgrade of PowerPoints on Broadway Green, and that's the committee report number for an expenditure of £1,132. Funded from the rolling capital fund. And then you may recall Councillor Simon Pike said at the meeting that he wanted to sort of meet up with the services manager and just check capacity. Capacity is not the issue, but we allowed for an extra, I think, 10-20%, which ended up being that sum. However, subsequent to that, the services manager gave the go-ahead to Nurse Electrical, because we already had an estimate in place. But when it came to the detail of it, they provided, the services manager believed, an unsatisfactory system in terms of the casing, which could be interfered with in terms of store holders, suppliers. So, for example, they could plug a kettle in and they could override the fuse box and, you know, disrupts things and create possibly fire. So he wants a new design of the casing. So it's as simple as that we haven't been able to go ahead with that at the moment. And I agree with him that we do need a different casing system. He's now looking at a different supplier, but there will be an inevitable cost in terms of this. The guesstimate from services manager is going to be a little bit north of 20%, more than that figure.
That doesn't sound too excruciating, does it? 1132 plus 20%.
That's his guesstimates. Is that
you'll bring to the next events committee an actual quote?
Yes.
Or does it go to R&A directly?
Well, I think Councillor Simon Pike, because I've chatted to him about this, I think, but I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but he did say that the committee could agree to an additional 20%, for example, without needing to go back to committee.
How does it do that then?
Don't know. Oh, sorry, I'm no expert on this at all. But
he'll have read some national constitution. Okay,
so I'll come back to
you're not talking double the cost.
No.
So I'm not. Nobody's repelled in anxiousness. Yeah. Okay. But it won't be ready for the festival. That's okay. No. But should be ready for the Christmas lights.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So, are we happy with that additional 20%?
I think you're looking to close us on that, aren't you?
I wasn't, but then speaking to Councillor Pike, he kind of said that it should be, you know. I don't know.
All right. No. I've got it now. I've got it. What he was trying to get at. If I were to propose from the chair that the committee agreed this sum of money would not be in excess of £1,400, which is more than 20%. Tell you what 20% is, just for the avoidance of doubt. 1132 times 20% is £226. 1132 plus £226 is £1,358. And I'm saying this, I'm proposing this committee agrees to a £1,400 expenditure on this and not a penny more.
Okay.
Does that find a second? Thank you, John. All in favour? Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Pike got his way. Now the service manager exactly has to bring it in. How far is it with the new budget? Very good. Okay, John, let's get on to the photography. Sorry, before you go on to that, then you talked Remembrance Day, you talked the focus in the museum. Did you want to mention anything about the Christmas lights, or is it too early for that?
No.
Too early, yeah. Happy, move on. Right. Thank you.
I've been working on it.
No,
It's not. I'm not.
And then we have these photographic guidelines, which, oh my word. All right, don't want to read all these.
Okay.
Tell us the bottom line.
Bottom line is, it was something we brought to members' attention back in April last year. And it was resolved then that I would meet with Councillor Simon Pike again, and he would work at redrafting some of the policy. Having met with Simon, but also having done more research and having spoken to Thatcham Photography Club, we believe that we should not create it as policy, but as guidelines.
Yep.
And part of the reason is the whole change of legislation following Brexit, to be honest with you, and also the difficulty, as you would understand, John, in terms of the whole thorny issue of recognising a child's face from a group photo and people being able to maximise it. But we believe the guidelines, so not a policy, but the guidelines are absolutely as diligent as we can make them, looking at every single piece of legislation possible. It looks comprehensive, but it covers the points, and we've looked very, very closely at the points in terms of both the legal side as well as what other councils are doing and what have you. As I said, Councillor Simon Pike has pored over it. We've pored over it. We've changed some of the words slightly, not to make them more ambiguous, but rather than you cannot, to say that you should not, for example, in terms of the guidelines. And I believe that covers us more. And we would suggest, we would recommend that we adopt these guidelines.
Okay, so let's pick this up. And has Councillor Pike agreed they should be guidelines and not policy?
I've spoken to him, and very briefly, sitting down in a chair in the dementia garden, and he's happy with that, yes.
So tell us about the practicalities. We put on events at considerable cost. We want to take some photos. The Newbury Weekly News comes along and takes some photos. What is this doing? What does this policy do? Because as you say, the practicalities, it's got 20 random people in a photograph. I'm now going to go around to each one of them and say, are you okay for me to put this on our website? They're heading off to the ice cream stall by now. What's the practicality of something like that? Okay. John, hang on.
Yeah, if we go back to the Thatcham Family Fun Day,
yeah,
I was supporting the photographer who was being hired by Thatcham to take photographs. And like you say, the Newbury Weekly News were going around taking their photographs. Thatcham Camera Club were taking photographs. I had to go up to each individual that she wanted to photograph and ask if it was okay to photograph their child before we took the photograph. So they had to
Newbury Weekly News, did it?
No.
Well, come on.
I would dispute that.
All right.
I think if they were taking an individual photograph of a child or whatever, then they would be taking their name.
From the Newbury Weekly News?
Correct.
Rather than a group photo.
Group photo, they would have taken photos of the groups.
I didn't notice that, but I did. Like I say, it was very laborious. It meant that you couldn't actually take photographs of people, in spontaneity. It was everything was being staged after the event. Nobody except for one person, I have to say, but nobody else minded. You know, if you ask somebody, say, is it all right to take a photograph of your child, blah, 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 you know, on these, you know, the aeroplanes or the rockets or whatever. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, and they were quite happy to do that sort of thing. But it did make it very, very strange. Yeah, as a photographer, you know, going around, but I can understand why people would do that. We had that incident at the, when we had the beacon. Yeah, and some of the people, the refugees were there, and they were just recording things that were going on, and somebody knocked the phone out of the guy's hand and broke it.
That might be a slightly different issue, might that?
Yeah, I think so. Mark, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I mean, well, I need to say, so does that come down then to the difference between informally checking with a parent? You know, do you mind if I just take this picture of your child and actually recording their details?
We had to.
What we currently.
Yeah, we had to take name and address, and I had to sign it.
But again, practicality. You hang on a second, let me develop the thought here, because I'm still struggling to know what we're protecting ourselves from. A group of people get together. You might want to take a photo for our website. There is a scene, and you just want to capture that scene. 30, 40, 50, 60 people in that scene. This is the view across the fun day. Are you telling us that is not really to go anymore?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
That's fine. That's not a problem.
Why is that fine?
Because
because
it's a group photo. This is to do, so the essence of this is individual photos. So me seeing John Boyd with his daughter and taking a photo where you can recognise John Boyd and his daughter. That's what you're protecting the child and a vulnerable adult, and you should ask the adult as well. Now, the onus changes where that's already been done. If you look at what schools are doing, every single school, in terms of their protection of all their children, it's exactly the same. The bonus is that if you have a school group, that's already all done. So, for example, that beacon lighting event, all the primary school, all the children the parents had already agreed to allow their children to be photographed.
Right.
So that's probably not good.
God, yeah.
Okay, now Mark up. How do I? Right, okay.
Sits on there. Just point it back.
Where's the lead? Oh, Mark, thank you. Cheers, Mark. Oh, Mark, you're the tallest person here. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So that's what these guidelines state. They protect the town council in terms of, we can't stop an individual from doing that, but we also put in that guideline, if the parent has got an issue with someone in the public that is doing that, to come and speak to us. It protects us in terms of when we employ an official photographer. Now, the photo club have got different guidelines, and what they do is that they will give someone a business card if they're taking a shot, and then say, if you've got any problems, let us know. So it's a slightly different process, but we believe, I mean, we've been doing this anyway.
Doing what?
Sorry, we've been following these guidelines as best as we can anyway. It's all to do with GDPR, and that's what the issue is here. And it's
GDPR, it's about people's concern about their child being recognised on a website, on Facebook or whatever. That's the practical concern. Timon will tell you all about GDPR, but let's talk to the practical side.
Mm-hmm.
Did we look at Newbury Town Council's guidelines?
No, because I can't find their guidelines, and I don't think they're as tight as this particular one. So,
and what are we using prior to this one?
there is a date. I think there is a policy that's in the town council's, I think it even mentions it here in terms of, right, let me have a look at the start of this. (2010). So, but that wasn't policy, it was guidelines dated 10th of May, 2010.
Well out of date. Okay, so let's look at some practical occasions. We are going to give a civic award to somebody. They come along. I stand up as mayor and give them a badge. We want to take a photo. Maybe we can do want to take a photo. Do they have to sign?
They should already have been identified. Yes, they do.
So it's more admin. It's more something else extra to have to worry about.
But we do this anyway. We do this.
We have been doing this. This has been our custom and practice. We go to the fun day. We take some broad shots of people, but I can still recognise Johnny Bloggs in the middle, but he's only that big.
This is a really grey area, and that's why we've amended it from the previous guidelines, which were less precise. We also put signage up in the event saying that we will be taking photographs at this particular event, and it's in the programme.
Yeah.
But that doesn't obligate us from our responsibilities as.
Which are what? What are our responsibilities? I'm not clear of our responsibilities.
I think it's a duty of care particularly to vulnerable adults and to children.
So, what are you asking us to do, John? From an office point of view, are you comfortable that if we accept the new guidelines that they're workable and practical? And if so, I would feel comfortable about supporting them. I appreciate that it is a bind, but if you're doing something similar anyway, and you were just looking for new guidelines so that you've got clarity as an events manager, then that's different from you coming to us and saying, look, I've been given these long guidelines and I don't think they're workable.
I think I'm saying that these guidelines need to be put into, because the old ones are 2010 and we don't, they're no longer applicable. So the fact that I'm doing that doesn't need to say if I'm not here tomorrow that someone else doesn't have this.
His question was, having looked at them, do you believe they are workable?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I think we're probably more relaxed now because you're the people who've got to do it.
Yeah.
I get worried about several pages of guidelines that nobody's going to remember in their head, right? A Simon Pike special. You can put that on record as well because it's not.
He's watching this, Jim.
Yeah. I'm sure he is. And it's not practical to use it. It's by the letter of the GDPR, but it's not practical. Guidelines come in one window and common sense goes out the other, John.
The practical elements, which it sounds like it's a faff, but it's the actual documents that you then issue to the photographer for him to sign, which refers back if he needs to see the more comprehensive guidelines, as well as, so in other words, we have guidelines that if a member of public for any particular, this is the worst case scenario, for any particular reason feels that we've taken a photo of their child incorrectly, they can then come back to us and say, well, what are your guidelines? And we can say, these are the guidelines.
Yep.
And it's and even though John says it's onerous, the shortened version is this, that they get to sign. So that's consent form for the use of photography for an adult. And there's one, sorry, I should have given these out to you guys. And that's for the child.
Pass them around.
John, you've seen this, but I'll give it to you again.
Okay, so here's my question.
Yep.
We're raising a flag outside. We got a load of school children in here on 4 tables. You remember the occasion last year, I was deputy mayor.
Yep.
And they're playing with, you know, putting together some flags. Photographs are being taken. All their parents aren't there, so we're basically going by the school.
Correct.
Okay. Now they're here, but they're not in school. Their parents have brought them. Go with me. You can't remember an occasion when we've done this, but we might.
Yeah.
Now we got to get these signed for 20 children in here by 20 parents. Correct?
Yeah.
You see, the other way that it works, and I've been there, is a lady's come up to the photographer by the side of me and say, excuse me, you've just taken a photograph of my child. I don't want you to use that. Absolutely, madam. No problem at all. We've noted that. That will be deleted forthwith. It's almost the onus on the parent to come up and say, don't, rather than us saying, can we? Very big difference in effort, emphasis.
I would not disagree with you at all.
John?
Yeah, no, the only thing I would say regarding that, I could be across the field with a telephoto lens.
Of course you could. Of course you could.
So the parents wouldn't necessarily
even know you're taking
doing it. That would be the difference. But
what I think, because we've been going at it 10 minutes, I don't want to stifle debate. It looks to me as if you, the officer, are saying to us, these are workable guidelines. They protect us. They bring us up to date after 12 years. And you're not unhappy if we were to approve them this evening. Is that fair?
That's fair. Yes, that's great.
And I think we should I'll propose we accept them. I'm not happy about the world we live in, because I think it's the onus on the parent to say, I'm not having my child near photographs, near cameras, but I'm making the proposal. Any seconders? Okay, all in favour? I do it with a heavy heart in a way.
Yeah, I could see why, you know, and that's, yes.
I mean, we do up at Mary Hare School have that same sort of policy whereby parents know that photographs will be taken of their children on trips, everything else.
Yeah.
They then have to say, I don't want my child.
I'm opting out.
And then anybody, you know, we would all know that Joe Bloggs there isn't allowed to be in the photographs, and you know, you take the photographs and just remove them.
Poor old Joe wants to be in the photograph. His mum said he can't be. Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry that was a prolonged meeting. We got through some very important stuff.
Yeah.
8:30.
8:30 on the dot.
Looking forward to it, John.
Yeah.